back again. Stay Elevated Podcast.
Dude, the technicalities of trying to get this thing to work are killing me.
It's mostly on my end. I mean, yours is just a flip on and off switch. Mine is everything. You know, whether these things are working and I can hear what you're saying or internet in the middle of nowhere. But, you know, it is what it is. We are sacrificing to bring this material to you guys.
It's high quality material. I mean, let's be real here. All of our
I wouldn't say that.
10 listeners.
We're as close as we can get.
10 subscribers.
Yep. Do we have that many now? Wow.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
That's up like 300%.
Stuff, I know. Hey, man, episode 4. I'm happy to be here. It's a little early in the morning for me to be talking. But I got my coffee.
Earlier than it has been, yeah.
I like doing it
I've already
at night
had my coffee.
because it's cathartic. I can kind of get the day off my chest. You know?
I'm opposite. I think I like it early just because I start my day really early with the farm here. So I've been up for 5.5 hours now.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in the middle of my day.
I mean, I'm awake. I'm just like, we gotta talk now.
Yep, that's right. Well, let's get into it. We'll talk about stuff we like, and you'll get rolling. You'll be good.
For my day job, I normally have like 5 cups of coffee before I'm able to start actually talking with people. So just having the one is.
Oh man, if I had that many cups of coffee, I'd definitely look like one of your patients, jittery, shaking all over the place.
Yeah.
Y'all got any more of that crack?
Yeah. Not for you, bud. You ready to get into the news? You got your notes pulled up?
Yeah, I got everything pulled up this time. I can't believe it's actually working. So, you know, we're rolling into this thing like we just rolled out of bed, but we can roll into your news. You want to start with your wolf reintroduction?
Yeah. Did you read up on that at all?
I didn't. No, when you sent it to me yesterday, I was on the way back from Atlanta, which is a beast of a thing in itself. So,
just driving.
I was just dealing with traffic. I mean, that was kind of it was kind of dealing with wolves on the highway.
Yeah. 2020, I think, Colorado voters passed Proposition 114, which is basically they want Colorado Parks and Wildlife to reintroduce wolves into the natural landscape in the state.
Okay.
It passed by, I don't even know how you can call that a passing vote. I guess it was just simple majority. 50.91% to 49.09%. I feel like that's probably within the margin of error there, but hey, you know, whatever.
We can't get a president with that kind of margin.
No, you'd have to be doing recounts and recounts and recounts. But what day was it? A couple days ago, basically, they released 5 wolves that they captured in Oregon into Grand County, which is, if you're not familiar, it's just west and encompasses. It's west of Estes Park, and excuse me, and it encompasses a lot of Rocky Mountain National Park.
Okay,
and,
I know where Estes Park is. I've been there.
Yeah, and so they let 5 wolves go out there, and I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know.
Aren't they having issues with some of the other reintroduction areas, like where they're overpopulating and killing off way too many elk and way too many deer?
Well, here's the thing. Colorado has the largest population of elk in the country, right, as it stands right now.
Right. Right.
When you put a natural predator back in the environment, like wolves, like bears, like panthers, pumas, cougars, whatever you want to call them, that population is going to decrease.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely make no mistake about it. There will be less elk and deer on the population, on the landscape
That's right.
going forward. Um, I I feel for the landowners who are going to lose cattle. I feel for the
Yep.
landowners who are going to lose sheep. Um,
Will they get any of
I
those prairie dogs out there? Be nice if
probably.
they did. Those things are
I
every four
I
or five
think
feet. They're popping up.
I think on a personal level, if I were out hunting in Grand County, Colorado, and I was sitting on the side of a mountain and I hear a wolf pack, I think that would be probably one of the coolest things.
It would
They
be.
are supposed to be out there. That's a natural predator. It's a natural. It's native to the ecosystem. Um, would I be a little pissed if I owned land out there and I'm now having to deal with loss towards this ever growing wolf population? Yeah, I would be pretty pissed off. Like, I get it. I 100% get it. If they're going to do this, and I haven't really read exactly how Colorado Parks and Wildlife plans on doing it. If they're going to do it, they need to do it right. They need to manage that population when it gets to whatever. These are all man-made
Whatever they
numbers. Like,
decide is too many.
correct. Again, man-made numbers. Like, if they start seeing, the elk population is decreasing by whatever 50% or whatever that threshold is, they have got to allow hunters to take care of that problem. And
Here's
I'm
the rough thing
worried.
about out there. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry. And I'm worried because Colorado currently is trying to ban cougar hunting, bobcat hunting,
Mm.
and which is ridiculous, lynx hunting because you already
Yep.
cannot hunt lynx. So how are they going to be okay with us hunting wolves to manage that population as well? I find that I find it vexing, and I mean I'm interested to see how. I have the most respect for Colorado Parks and Wildlife. I think they do a fantastic job managing their ecosystems. I am interested to see how they move forward with this. It's that's a tightrope, and man,
I've been
I'm
to
glad I'm not
Estes
out there.
Park, and I'm thinking about the. I don't know if it's like that, and you said it was going to go through some of the other parks too, in some of their area. But I know
It
from
just
being at Estes
Rocky
Park,
Mountain National
those.
Park is that area.
Okay.
So yeah,
So when I went to Estes Park, I mean, you could almost walk up to these things. I mean, obviously we didn't, but there were people that were literally walking amongst the herd taking pictures.
and
So
that's because you're not allowed to hunt
they're
them right there.
tame.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're cattle. So and there's
yeah,
people out there with dogs and stuff like that too. So I feel like all they're going to think is, "Oh, this is a dog." And how long is it going to take for them to get, hip to the
destroyed.
new species that's out there
They'll,
eating them? I mean,
I,
it's like us going to a park and hunting deer.
I think that
How easy would it be, and how fast would we take them all out?
when we reintroduced wolves into the GYE, Greater Yellowstone Ecosystem, it was the same conversation. Well, we're going to lose elk, we're going to lose deer, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
It did not take very long for the elk and deer to figure it out. It doesn't take
Okay.
very long for a deer to figure out that a dog is biting them.
Yep.
So, uh,
Or a dog's biting their friend.
right. It doesn't matter though. Have you ever watched video of a wolf pack hunting? It's
Yeah,
it's incredible.
it's pretty
I
crazy.
mean, they just
It looks
wear.
like a deer drive, like a human deer
Yes,
drive, where they literally
yes,
have them sitting at certain points, certain interception
yep,
points. Or
yeah.
just National Geographic or Blue Planet makes it look that way. I don't know.
They if they hey it's incredible. Regardless, I mean, they do a fantastic job of wearing these animals down, and their success rate is pretty good. I mean, you can't be reproducing in those types of numbers without having protein. I mean, that's just how it is.
That's right.
And
Yep.
they're dogs. They're going to survive. So I don't know. I'm very torn on it. Like I said, like if I were out there in 10 years and they have a management plan in place and there's a wolf tag in my pocket, I'm going to be stoked. I'm going to be absolutely stoked. I'm like, yes, this is how it's supposed to be. There's supposed to be wolves on the landscape, and now I get to hunt them. This is awesome.
Now here's
Along
the real
with
question:
elk and
Are
deer.
you going
Mhm.
to hunt it with a rifle, or are you going to hunt it with a spear or bow?
Well, I'll hunt it with whatever means I'm allowed to hunt it with during that season. If it's an atlatl, I'll take an atlatl.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah, I don't know, man. I'm torn, man, because like I said, you drive out there. We go out there all the time. You drive out there and you see just these incredible herds of elk, and when you think about it, if there if humans did not exist
Mhm.
and
They'd be
wolves did not
everywhere.
exist, yeah, exactly. So should there be that many elk on the landscape? Probably not. And it's just it bugs me because I'm like, man, there's got to be a world record elk somewhere out there that you could just go to have the opportunity to kill, and now maybe a wolf's going to get it instead. But it is what it is. That's very selfish to think of it like that. But again, I feel for the ranchers. I do. I feel for not just the big ranchers. I feel for like just the homesteaders. The big
Mhm.
ranchers can write it off as a tax write off, or they can get paid out by the state or whatever. Think about if you're a homesteader. Think
Mhm.
about if a wolf pack came in and just decimated all of your cattle in
Like the
one night.
coyotes were just doing with the chickens.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a heavy
Well, then,
loss.
and my plan is to wipe out every coyote that comes through. So
Exactly,
I reckon that would be my idea with the wolves too. You know what?
exactly.
It
Can you
sucks to say it
blame?
that way, but be it legal or not, I'm going to protect my own. So, and that's how I feel here, and I feel like probably the ranchers will do the same thing out there. And
Yeah,
illegal or not, I couldn't blame them if they were doing it.
yeah.
I couldn't say, oh
No,
no,
I
that's
think
awful.
there are protections in place. Like if obviously if your stock or your personal property is being damaged, you have a right to protect yourself. That goes without saying
Right.
in any state. Um, I, I'm the same way. Like, I mean, if if they were out there destroying my chickens, you think I'm just gonna be like, oh, cool, a wolf? No, I'm getting the 22 250 and I'm blasting it.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know,
It's
man.
uh,
It's interesting.
yep. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough one. Luckily for me, you know, I don't have any skin in that game, so I'm just going to go out there and hunt whatever's available, like you were saying. Um, here it's legal to wipe out the coyotes, so uh,
So
that's my closest thing to a wolf, and I'm going to do it.
it's legal to wipe out the coyotes here because they're not native over here. That's a Western species.
Oh, I
They
I figured they were native everywhere. Hell, they can live in the
they
cities.
yeah. Well, their encroachment really happened after we wiped out the wolves on this side of the Mississippi, and the last
Mm,
real remaining wolf population this side of the Mississippi, apart from I guess some areas up in like Michigan and Wisconsin or the Upper Peninsula, I guess, um, will be the red wolves, like in Florida, and now the reintroduction of red wolves in North Carolina. That small pack.
yep.
That's not enough to keep coyotes out, and you coyotes are technically not supposed to be here. So I mean, that's why you're able to wipe them out. Um, yeah, I don't know, dude.
I did not know that.
I don't technically have skin in the game, but it's like I said, dude. Like if you and I were sitting on the side of a mountain and you got to hear a wolf pack howling, a couple peaks over or a peak over, you're telling me that wouldn't be like a life altering experience? Like this is
It
the coolest shit.
it would be. It would be. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd have my hand ready to pull the trigger because
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
it'd probably freak me out, but it would be awesome at the same time.
Yeah. 100%.
I'm not gonna lie.
100%.
When I'm walking through the woods and I hear, a group of coyotes, a pack of coyotes hollering at the moon, and they're that's a different kind of howl. They all but scream. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I can have gun in hand and still, am gripping it tight like, oh crap, are they coming to get me?
There is a study
Like
done.
they're the boogeyman or something.
I can't remember if it was Canada or one of the northern states that did it. Um, I should look it up before I say this, but I remember reading it, so I feel confident repeating it. Um, Coyotes up north have been recorded as a pack taking down an adult cow moose
Wow.
and killing it and eating it. So all these people, especially like around where I'm at, Central Florida, all these people are like, "Oh yeah, coyotes in the backyard." Dude, you got a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
That thing is looking at your 3-year-old as food source. That thing is looking at your
Yep.
cockapoo as a food source. Like
hmm
it
Everything that
is
moves
not.
that they can get a hold of.
It is a wild animal, and it will do damage if it can. So
hmm
it's yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll end it with I really hope that Colorado does the right thing and allows for the proper management and the
Yep.
utilization of all tools, including hunters. Because let's be real,
Yep.
if it's a $25 extra wolf tag when I'm out there elk hunting, yeah, I'm gonna throw that in my pocket. Absolutely, it's 25
hmm
bucks. Or
And they
75
probably
bucks,
will
whatever.
only sell, if they do it, they'll sell 5 a year, 10 a year, something like that. It'll be just real hard to get
Yeah,
quota permit, but they'll be
correct.
sold every year, and they'll probably have that many taken out every year.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and obviously you're gonna have loss from ranchers and all that stuff, cars,
hmm
et cetera, disease. I get it. I get it. I just hope that they do it right, and I hope that the
Yep.
voters of Colorado, because let's be real, that 50.9% that voted for it came from a certain section of Colorado,
Boulder,
and it what? Yep,
Denver.
yep. Colorado Springs,
hmm
Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins.
That's it.
The county that they dropped him off in, I'm pretty sure voted like 2/3 against it, against the measure. So
How'd they drop them off? They just kind of roll by because they were scared and dump them out the side with the door
no,
open,
they
or what?
had every single wolf had a collar on. They had these really nice big crates, like the impact crates, and there's a. I mean, admittedly, the picture is fucking epic. It's a whole bunch of CPW people behind a fence and a couple guys
You know
opening
what?
the door and a
The
wolf
black
like
wolf that's running away. It looks like it's
yes,
wet.
yes,
I saw that this morning. Now I did see that. Yep,
yes, yes. And that I mean
that is
it's
pretty
a
cool.
pretty sweet pic with the mountains in the background and everything. Like it's
hmm
if you voted yes, then you're stoked for sure. Um I just hope that they do it right. I'll leave it at that.
We'll see.
We'll see. Oh, looking at your list, you've got cell cams. You wanted to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I know that they're outlawing cameras in some state. I think Kansas, you're not allowed to use trail cameras at all in public land anymore. But I think I saw in Kentucky really recently, within the last few weeks, I saw it. I don't know when the law was passed, but that you can't use cell cams. Maybe it's on public land. I don't think it's on private land, but on public land, I believe you can't use cell cams. And I know a lot of places are talking about going to that, doing away with
I
cell
got
cameras.
I don't know how accurate this is, but I got a little blurb here. It says Nevada and Arizona trail cameras are banned for hunting purposes, period. Not even cell
Completely.
cameras, just trail cameras. In
Not even
Montana,
on private land.
it does not specify.
Okay.
I'll stick with public land for now because that's what we like to hunt anyway.
Mm.
In Montana, Utah, Kansas, New Hampshire, and Alaska, the use of wireless or cell cameras is prohibited during the hunting season. So,
Okay.
I have always thought that getting a picture of your shooter buck and stepping outside and walking to your stand is kind of cheating.
Yeah.
It's a little cringy to me. I don't like being able to sit inside by a fire or eat dinner with family or lunch with family or whatever and being like, oh shit, he's at stand 1. We got to get there now. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's right.
It's weird. I don't
Or
like it.
even he's facing towards stand 2. We need to go get to stand 2 real fast because it's a couple hundred yards away.
He's walking left to right. I know exactly what trail he's on. Let's go cut him off. This is only a 2-minute old picture. It's kind of cringy. It kind of ties in with what I'm going to talk about next. It takes the outdoorsmanship out of the outdoors. And you and I specifically cut our teeth having to find. I mean, it was like there's a rub this big, on a tree
In the
this big
hardest
around
place probably to hunt.
in the most challenging environment in like 3 feet of water, and we're like, all right, there's some sign. Let's start looking out around here. I think it made us better hunters because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I agree with that.
now when I walk through areas and I see trails and I see rubs and I see scrapes or I see turkeys or I see turkey sign or whatever, it stands out. It's like, bam, it's like right there. I'm not having to get on all fours to look and to smell this little itty bitty spot of earth like that to see if that was a scrape last night or not. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's like, hey, that's a scrape. I can see it from 100 yards away. I can see the paw marks where he dug it out, from 15 yards away. So I think while, cell cams don't really necessarily help you with any of that aspect, I think it takes away from the experience. I say all that. I use cell cams.
Mm-hmm.
However, I use cell cams because I hunt 9 hours away from where I live. So
That's right.
I like to be able to keep tabs on the herd. I like to be able to keep tabs on the land, and I think they're incredibly useful for that. I'm not in a position where I can be like, shooter bucks on camera, calling out tomorrow, we're going. That's not what I do. It's like shooter bucks on camera. Well, I got to wait for another 3 weeks before I can get up there. He's going to be gone by then anyway.
Yep. And I use cell cams too, but and I'm not 9 hours away. Winder is about an hour, and the lease I have one down there is just over an hour and a half. And I've got here at my house, I could utilize them and walk out and shoot one when I see him on camera, but I don't. I think I've got Muddy Pro cameras out there, not cell cameras. Because I mean, that's how I feel too. I don't want to use it that way, but so I use it so that I don't have to go to the lease all the time to check cameras. I don't want to walk in because over there I'm one of there's probably 5 or 6 guys that really hunt in the woods. Most of them hunt box stands and on lanes and roads and things like that. I don't want to walk in deep, so I just leave them there. And then Winder is that's just because I don't want to have to drive all the way to Winder and drive through the field and all that crap. So I can, like you said, keep an eye on what's there, and it does help to be selective.
Correct, for sure, absolutely.
I
think you made a good point.
What deer are there.
you made a great point. It keeps you from going into areas where you might otherwise be busting deer or busting animals out of that area. It is
That's right.
keeping your scent down. It's keeping the human foot travel down. I think that they're incredibly useful for that. I think that they're a great tool. That I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, but I was gonna say they've hunters. I mean, a lot of hunters have made it, like you said though. They've used it, I think, the wrong way, in just going out and making the harvest easy.
Yeah.
Going to that
Oh,
spot where they know
I
they're going to be at in 20 minutes.
it's not just hunters. I think guides do it a lot too. They'll have 200
Oh
trail
yeah,
cams, 200 cell cams out there, and they are having these big clientele, come in and pay big bucks for these animals, big dollars for these animals, big bucks for these bucks. Do you know where the term buck came from? It's because
no,
a buckskin used to cost $1, so they called it a buck. Fun fact of the day. Um, they
nice.
they're having these clients pay big bucks for bucks, and um, you know, it's a high stress environment when you're guiding that kind of clientele. It's like we got to get a monster right now, and if he's on camera, 5 minutes ago, then my client's going to be in the next stand that he hits, no questions asked.
Yep.
That's not hunting, not in my opinion. That's you want to
Yeah,
pay a lot of money for a big deer. So
yeah. You're going to shoot a small cow with big horns on his head. I mean, it's
mm-hmm,
livestock almost
for
in
sure,
those guided areas anyway.
for sure.
No, I like the woodsmanship, man. I like being able to go out and find the right spot and hunt it. Sometimes not even with a trail camera. But I do kind of like knowing what's there. I feel like I don't know what's worse or what's better. It does help you to be selective to have those cameras out because, like I said, a lot of places are on public land just going away with cameras altogether. It helps you to be more selective, so you wait to shoot a more mature deer, but it also makes people wait on those more mature deer, and maybe they're not going through their they're not breeding, so they're
Yeah,
not they're not making more babies. So I don't know which one is
I
better or worse.
I'll say it's a tool, and like any
Yep.
tool, it can be misused. And I think that
Yep.
I look, I, I've got one right here, the old Spy Point micro LTE, right there. It's not hanging up right now because I just don't feel like I need it. It is what it
Mm-hmm.
is. But at the same point, it's a great tool. If you and I were to go out to Missouri, let's say, and we find a great area, we're scouting, we're like, man, this looks good. Let's set a couple cameras here. Let's see what happens. It's not like you and I can just fly back out to Missouri tomorrow to check those cameras. Being able
Mm-hmm.
to have that ability for them to beam back images to my watch literally tells me like, hey, you got a picture. Um,
Yep.
that's awesome. Now, you and I specifically have used our woodsmanship, our outdoorsmanship to find where we want to place those cameras. So
Yep.
even though the camera is doing the legwork of getting us the image, we had to do the legwork to get it to where it needs to be or where we think it needs to be. And I think that is
That's
how
right.
they should be used, in my opinion.
Yep. And I mean, this is just funny stories, kind of with the cell cameras or with cameras at all. You know, they're not the only tool that helps people kill deer either. So here's I use it to know that this deer's in the area, but I don't necessarily hunt over the camera because I don't always get the deer on the camera. Um,
Correct. The camera faces one
last
direction.
year, yeah, last year I shot my 8 point on the second day of archery, and it wasn't a cell camera. I had a Muddy Pro out there too. But on that camera, I hadn't had a picture of him for over 2 weeks. I didn't check it until I went in to hunt. I went and checked it, climbed up in my stand, uh, put my card in the computer, and he wasn't on there. So I thought, well, let's sit here and see what happens. That doesn't mean he's not coming through the area. So set up, and an hour and 15 minutes before dark, he came out of the opposite bedding area, came through, walked behind the camera. The camera's probably 80 yards away, but where it's at, where the swamp is, where he was at, it's real
Yeah.
open on that far side where that clear cut,
Mm-hmm.
the old clear
Mm-hmm.
cut was at. So I can see the camera from there. He walked behind the camera on a trail, got back on that main trail, and then walked by me, and I shot him at 20 yards.
And you would never
But
have
he
known he
wasn't
was
on the
there had you
camera.
not been in the woods.
Nope, nope. And it's like that a lot. You go to places where there's no deer on your camera at all, and they're everywhere. They just might not be coming down that trail for whatever reason. They're not bed to food or
I,
chasing does on that trail or something like that. Unless you go out and put a camera on a tree facing 4 different directions, and even then, they may be coming through. I mean, using that swamp as an example, they might be coming on the east side of that swamp and paralleling the beaver ponds
you did have
instead
that one
of
camera
the
that
west side
rotated.
up against that clear cut.
It
And then
rotated.
then it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Do you remember that thing?
Oh, that mole tree that I had that spun. Yeah, that thing
Is
was
that what
sweet.
that thing covered a big area? But I'm telling you right now,
Yeah,
that freaked me the fuck out when I first saw it because I
because
immediately
it
saw it
moved.
like yes, and it spun right towards me. I'm like, what the living hell is that? I did
You
not
know
like
what?
that at all.
That's when I was getting that buck big sexy on camera, that great big
Mm-hmm.
tall 8 point chocolate horned 8 point.
Mm-hmm.
And the first several pictures of that deer were him like bug eyed, like what the hell was that? Because it's loud and it spins. They can see it happen, and
Zoop.
but then that's like the deer got used to it. Um,
So
and then they just
I was
didn't
going to
care
ask you
anymore.
that.
Like you'd see them look up at the camera, but
Yeah, I was going to ask you what are your thoughts on big bucks being able to sense that a camera's there and then kind of bugging off of that area? Or not even maybe
I
not bugging off that area, but what do you think about that big buck that was going behind your camera? Do you think he knew that there was something on the other side of that tree and he's like, "Yeah, I don't like it." And he went behind it?
so I had I have a salt hole there that I put through probably from, I don't know, April until just before season starts,
Mhm.
and I'll go in and add either what are those, trophy rock, or mix some
Mhm.
salt for myself and put in there. And I'm, maybe he maybe I came, I was coming every 2 weeks, so maybe he got my scent and said, well, I'm not going to walk in front of it because I know there's human scent there, but I wouldn't feel like 10 yards away would feel safer at that point. Like he'd want to be
Yeah.
100 yards away from it if he smelled me. So
Yeah.
I mean, other than it just being unnatural, um, somebody just put a new picture on my wall and I see it and I'm going to wonder why it's there.
Right.
Same thing with a
Right.
deer, with any tree that they walk by regularly. They're going to notice something. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I
mean,
don't
you're
know.
in their
I got
living
him on
room.
camera for Yeah, I got him on camera for 3 months. All through the summer, and watched him grow because I just like having the cameras out there to watch deer grow. Um, it's cool to see them go from nubs to big old boys, and then didn't
That just
have them
goes
on
back to my
camera at
point of
all.
like monitoring the herd. I think it's a great tool for
Mm-hmm.
seeing herd growth, herd management, and the like. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I don't know that I can't tell you that. I know that I have a lot of deer that I don't see on camera, and then I go out in the woods and then there's deer everywhere. They're just not going by the camera. And I tell, my dad will tell me, I didn't have a deer on camera, or Um, uh, Jameis, my boss, my buddy, he's got 54 acres, I think, down in South Georgia, and he'll tell me, "Well, I'm not getting any bucks on camera," and I'll tell him, "Jameis, if you get one picture of them on camera, go hunt the woods somewhere else. If he's there at nighttime, go hunt closer to where you think he's bedding." Well, but if he's not on camera, he's probably not on the property. No, that's not the case. He's just not in front of your
Yeah,
camera.
that's not true at all. I mean, it's like you said. I know for a fact because I've seen it happen. I've had 50 turkeys
Mm-hmm.
on the side of the mountain come down, and that where it's at, I had the feeder going. It was like spinning, and it would shoot it up like onto the side of the mountain, basically. And corn can fly
Okay.
out of that thing for like 20 yards.
Oh yeah.
So they were feeding down that side of the mountain. I mean, it's a huge flock, like huge longbeards. I'm like, oh my god, like it's a good flock this year, fantastic. And they're feeding the corn, eating, scratching, doing everything, and then they just moved on up the mountain. They didn't go anywhere near the feeder, didn't go anywhere near the camera. I would never have known had I not been sitting there and watched it. I'd never have known that they were there. Had I not
Yep.
gotten in the woods and seen it happen, or then seen the aftermath of them like raking up the leaves and all that. But it's I I think it's boots on the ground, man. Yeah, boots on the ground is what's really going to get you. Like
Old
you
school
you
woodsmanship.
can't live and die by the camera. It's so your buddy Jameis, like I would say to him, well, you're not going to kill a buck at home, regardless of if they're on your property or not. You're not killing anything if you're at home. You need to get in the
That's
woods
right.
and pull the trigger on something. So like I, like I said, I think it's a tool. I think that's a good segue though, into the next point I got on here, or a point on here. Oh, I don't even have it listed in the news. My bad. Um, I'm gonna skip ahead and do that because I'm gonna rant about it a little bit.
Good.
I am sick and tired of this immortalization of shooting bow shots out to like 100 yards. There's certain
Oh yeah.
people on social media that do it, and I look, it's awesome.
Are you talking
It is.
target shooting?
People hunt. People on social media have said, I've shot this thing at 80 yards. I shot this thing at 60 yards. I shot it out at 100 yards. It looks great. It's fantastic. Why do you, let me ask you this. All right, I'm getting worked up. Why do you specifically bow hunt?
Uh, really it has to do with the way I hunt. I hunt thick. I like to be close to the deer.
Okay.
I like being on top of them. Basically, I
Okay.
mean, and where I hunt, I can only see 25 to. If I can see 40 yards, I've got a 1 foot
Sure, but
window.
a 30-30 will take care of something at 40 yards or 25 yards or 15 yards, no problem. But you choose
That's
to
right.
use a bow.
Yep.
And what I'm getting at is the point of being an archer. I think that I would
It's the
contest
challenge.
that, yes, I would contest that the mark of a good archer is being able to be within 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards of an animal and them not knowing that you're there. Of
That's
being
right.
able to play the wind and sneak to within 20, 10, whatever yardage, and them not realize that you're there. You're a damn good hunter if you can creep up on an animal to within 30 yards. A damn good hunter.
Yep.
Because let's be real, those things have radar dishes on the side of their heads going like crazy. They got these two freaking binocular eyes just fucking going like crazy. They have a nose that smells better than a bloodhound. I, it is, everything is against you as an archer. So it just, I have a 30-30 that shoots 100 yards, no problem. Why do I want to shoot my arrow that far at that distance? I understand.
Yep.
I understand fully practicing at that distance and being comfortable at that distance, because then
Makes
a 30-yard
shot
shot or a 20-yard shot is absolutely nothing. It means nothing. It's just like, well, I
That's
can
right.
shoot things out to 100 yards. I'll shoot the hair off that animal at 30 yards. Fine. I get it. I understand that. I do not like this putting people on a pedestal when they shoot animals. It's an arbitrary number. It's my number. I don't shoot anything past 60 yards. I don't shoot anything past 50 yards,
Yep.
really. I prefer 40 and in. And
Yep.
it makes it more thrilling when you can sit there. I was in the woods in the early season this year. I heard deer vocalizations from animals that were at 10 yards that had no clue that I was there. And those vocalizations I've never heard. I mean, there were iterations of like grunts and bleats and stuff like that, but it was just so different.
Light, quiet ones.
So soft. It's such a finesse the way that they talk to each other, and you don't hear that out past 30 yards.
It's not your
you would
regular
never hear
grunt calls that you hear everybody talking about.
No, everybody's like,
or your doe bleats. Yeah.
Like crap like that. No, that's not what they're doing when they're right next to each other, when they're talking to each other. When they're talking to each other, it's
yep, little bitty ones.
Just the softest. Think of a turkey and the softest putt or the softest cluck you could think of, and that's what these deer were doing. And I was like, God, that is incredible. Like I feel like I've hunted quite a bit, and I feel like I've witnessed a lot of deer behavior, and I had never seen that. And I was like, that is so cool. Like these animals, when I'm sitting especially in the early season when they're not amped up, they're talking to each other on a level that we are just not listening to. And you would never hear that.
They're not just grunting during the rut. They're not just hunting, or they're not just grunting during the rut or talking to each other during the rut. They talk all year long. And I've heard a lot of that, real soft communication over the last probably 4 or 5 years since I've been in Georgia, because a lot of the places I hunt, I have to hunt on the ground and I have to be close. So they're coming by me all the time and I get to hear that. And like you said, it's cool to hear. And if you're in a tree stand, sometimes you can't hear it unless they're right underneath you.
Yeah, I agree. And well, look. All right, we'll leave it at that. Rant over. I just wanted to get that off my chest. It's been bugging the hell out of me for a while, and I feel much better being able to have said that.
I shot a deer at 43 yards this year. I shot a doe here at the house, and it was in the food plot, and I thought, man, I'm stretching this, but I practiced this. I feel really good. It was completely open in the food plot. It was windy. It couldn't hear me. I don't think it even heard the string. It barely dropped. Everything was perfect for me to take a 43-yard shot, and he died in 30 yards, or she died in 30 yards.
Sure. It's fantastic.
Basically, yeah. I mean, but that's other than that, I mean, if I had a buck at 50 yards in a food plot, I mean, because I can shoot to 60. If I had a buck at 60 yards in a food plot, 50 yards in a food plot, I guess it would just have to be, I'd just have to feel 100% confident like I did with her this year. But if I'm in the woods, I don't like taking shots past 35 unless I have a really big opening where there's nothing. I hate wounding deer. Like when I shot that one at 18 yards this year, that big buck, and he turned right as I touched the release, and it glanced the outside of his shoulder, and it killed me until I saw him on camera again, and he looked fine.
Yeah, you were tore up for days.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I had to put you on suicide watch.
Yeah, it was awful, and I feel that way. Anytime. I think I've only wounded one other deer, like that, and I didn't find that deer, and it crushed me. knowing what one, whether it was suffering or not, and two, if it went somewhere else and died and it's just out there wasting. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't want to take a shot where I think there's a chance that that can happen. If I can put everything in my favor and still have that happen like it did this year, I don't want to shoot at 35, 40 yards through some, really tight window where it's got a way bigger chance of that happening. So
Yeah.
most of my shots are 10 to 20 yards tops, and
You
I'm
you've
completely
seen
happy with that.
you've seen where I hunt. I could probably I mean, I don't know. I guess it just depends on the angle. I could get out to 130 yards if I really wanted to with the bow.
On that big food
That
plot
buck that I
out
shot,
there.
that buck that I shot um earlier in the year was at 20 yards,
Right.
and he turned exactly like just I mean it was a perfect quartering away shot. And I told myself, you're not going to shoot this animal unless it is a perfect scenario, unless he gives you a perfect quartering away shot, unless his left side was towards me, unless his left leg goes forward, unless he sits there for a second. Then you can shoot this animal. And he did all that. That buck died within 5 seconds. He jumped up
Yep.
the mountain and rolled over and was dead. And I was beside myself. I was like, I cannot believe that just happened. And I watched him for probably 10 minutes before making the shot. I mean, I watched him come in, I watched him jump the fence, I
And get
watched him
closer.
get really close, I watched him talk to another animal that was in the woods. I couldn't tell if it was a doe or a buck, but it doesn't matter. He was just talking. I watched him be a deer for 10 minutes, and I was like, this is why I bow hunt. This is why I shoot a bow, a bear archery bow. And I
And maybe there's
fucking love it.
Yep. And maybe people take these long shots out west or something like that. I mean, I know some people that hunt in food plots and they'll shoot really far at deer too, but like if you are hunting out west where it's really open and you're in a place where you can only archery hunt, that's that's the only seasons that they have, or the gun season's just really short. So most of their opportunities are archery, and they are only practicing to really long distances. And I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here because I don't have
No,
that,
I get it.
not
I get there's
opportunity,
all
but I
kinds of
don't have
different
that.
reasons. I get that there's
Yeah.
all kinds of
So
different reasons,
that
but
might be
yeah.
they're super confident shooting at that distance, and so maybe in their minds they're making an ethical shot. I don't have a reason to have to do that, so I can't say you're wrong for just taking these long shots and glorifying it. I can't shoot a balloon at 100 yards. I probably can't shoot a balloon at 70 yards. Um, it would be an ego thing. I'd be stroking my ego if I could do it. And I'm not going to say I'm not going to try to do that. So I'm not going to
I could
kill a
do it.
deer that far away.
I've done shots out to
Yeah.
70, and I could do it. I have no issues with that. It's not an ego thing. It's just it's a confidence thing. Um,
Yeah.
I have no. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you're wrong for doing it. I'm saying you're wrong for the glorification of it. When
Yeah.
all right, I'll play with you. I'll do your devil's advocate thing. If that's the only shot you have, if that's the only scenario you have, then sure, fine. I would then say, why is that the only shot you have? Why are you not a better woodsman to get into a better position to make a better shot, to make what I would consider a
Yep.
more ethical shot? Um, that's that's me personally. Um, I just I don't have an issue with people shooting out that distance. I have an issue with the glorification of it. It's like,
Yep.
yeah, congratulations, man. You shot 120 yards. Good for you. I My eyes are so bad I can barely even see 120 yards, but good for you.
Yep. Yeah,
So
it's just
I don't
not.
know.
For some people, it's a really cool thing. It's what they like to do, and it's not something obviously that you or I are going to be excited about being able to do. If I could do it, maybe I would be excited about it. I don't know, but it's not something I ever have to do, so I'm not practicing to do it, and it doesn't get me excited to shoot that far. So
Yeah.
maybe it does them.
All right. Moving on. Pissed enough people off now.
Yeah, that thing got you all fired up, didn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those things. It is what it is. Another big buck alert. Yet again, this is like the third episode in a row that we've brought you another big buck, and we have not broken this news. I'm literally just reiterating news that I've seen around. But if you're just hearing about this for the first time, what's his name? Jason Thomas has shot a absolute unit of a deer in southern Ohio. An absolute unit. Crossbow. Uh, in October, the deer was coming out of some corn, and he was on the ground. He ended up like getting down on the ground and was he stalked to within about 50 yards of it. This dude's shooting a crossbow. This is my point right here. He was in a stand. He saw the buck go where he didn't want it to go, and he saw it bed down. And he's like, "All right, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to creep in to within as close as I feel comfortable, and hope for the best." He did all of that. Had the wind in his favor. Waited for a few hours, and lo and behold, here comes this monster. It's going to be the number 2 right behind the Huff Buck record deer. I mean, 208 and 5/8 inches coming at you. I'm not even sure I could hold a crossbow. I would be shaking so violently. I mean, the deer would see me from a mile away.
They're not light. Well, I guess some of them probably are light, but the one that I have is not light
So you
to
want to
hold
talk
it
about,
up.
making close range shots. I mean, this dude shot it at like,
Mm.
I think he said it was like 15 paces or something like that before the deer even realized he was there. That's woodsmanship. He knew
Mm.
the travel corridor of the animal from studying the outdoors, the natural movements of the animal, cell cam pictures, just being out there, boots on the ground. He knew where it was going. He snuck to within 50 yards of where this thing was bedded, and lo and behold, came right to him within 15 yards, put a perfect shot on him. He's got the number 2 record in the country now. Fucking congratulations, dude. That's fucking amazing.
Yep. I wonder how
Did
many
you get the picture? I sent it to you.
208-inch. I did. Yeah, I saw it. I wonder how many 208-inch deer there are in Georgia. Not on a farm. Not on a
None.
high fence farm.
I don't know, man.
Lee, I think it was Lee
Probably.
Ellis, that the guy from Sequan, shot one that was 203 in Atlanta a couple of years ago,
Typical.
and that deer was ridiculous, non-typical.
That's the thing. Like for a buck to get that typical size, uh, genetics and nutrition. I don't know, man. I mean,
And
I've seen
age.
some pretty big deer. Yeah, I've seen some pretty big deer driving around Georgia, but I've never seen a typical deer that size. I'm sure they're there. I'm sure there's at least one, running around somewhere. But man, what is this? What is the record typical for Georgia?
I've only seen I'll bet I've seen a typical deer that was 150 to 160 inches, and that's the biggest one I've ever seen. And it wasn't in a place that I could hunt. I just saw them in a field.
Yeah, these are all. Georgia Outdoor Network has a bunch of numbers that are pretty clearly farmed animals. I think 191. 191 from 1991. And when I tell you it's a beautiful deer, holy hell. Let me send you that real quick.
I don't understand scoring at all, man. Why is there a gross and a net score? If the damn thing has 210 inches on its head, it's got 210. I mean, I get there's a reason. There must be good reason, but
So somebody
I
decided that they
don't
wanted to
care
make
about net
deductions.
score.
Yeah, I here's the thing. I
Penalized for
I've said this
having
before.
more on this side than the other
Yeah,
side.
exactly. I've said before, I don't even score my deer. It's just not why I hunt.
Mm.
If you're looking for like an actual typical, animal, I guess to a human scoring it who has it can be with human error, they want symmetry in that animal. And dude, whatever. I don't know. Don't even get me started on that. I'll just start on that one too.
No,
Let's
I like.
let's get out.
Somebody asked what a deer scored. I want to know the gross score. That's what's important to me. How much antler did it have on its head? You
Yeah, I
get
agree.
no deductions.
I agree. It's the same with baseball. I want them to take steroids. I want them
Yeah,
to be hammering those
exactly.
balls as far as they
It's
fucking can
entertainment.
go. Yes, it's entertainment. They're getting paid millions of dollars. I want this to be the highest scoring game ever. I want them to be just
Yeah.
rattling these things out of the park. So let them take steroids. Like it makes no sense to me.
Now, I do like a good pitching duel where there's no runs scored. One, because it rarely happens, so it's an amazing thing. But two, because you can fall asleep in the first inning and wake up in the ninth, and you haven't missed anything other than however many strikeouts are in between,
Right.
and it's still exciting. He's about to get his last 3 outs. But other than that, yes, I would rather have 25-20, looking
I
like a
agree.
football game.
All right, let's move on. I'm tired of talking. I want to hear. You've been wanting to tell your story, and I've been wanting to hear it on the podcast. We told it once, and it wasn't recorded. I want to hear about your Cumberland Island hunt. So,
Oh, okay.
have at it.
Well, Cumberland Island. I think Jameis put in for us to go on the second hunt. They do 5 hunts a year. I think it's 5 hunts a year. They do an archery hunt, 2 muzzleloader hunts, and 2 gun hunts. The gun hunts are both for hogs early in the year. I think they're like January, February, or something like that. But anyways, it's an island off of Georgia that you're remote camping. You go out on a ferry or on a private boat and go camp for a week. Hunt starts on Monday, and you get back on the boat or you go out on Monday, set up camp, go do your scouting. You hunt Tuesday
Can
through Thursday, and Friday you come home.
Can you take your own boat, or do you have to take the ferry?
No, you can take your own boat. So there's 2 campsites. One actually has some amenities, if I'm saying that right. There's electric
Mm-hmm.
in the cabin. Um, the ranger's cabin. There's water at the ranger's cabin. There's showers there, a shower house. There's an ice house there. So it has all of that. On the north end of the island is very remote, very rural
There's a
camping.
beer
There's nothing.
garden.
Like, you need to take a shit, you dig a hole, or you just leave it next to a tree. I mean, that's how it is. There's no showers,
Nice.
no nothing. Um,
And actually,
so
on
you
that topic,
can
please
take your
God,
boat.
please God, if people take shits in the woods, dig a fucking hole. Dig a fucking
Yeah, I don't
hole
want to step in
and
it.
bury your shit. Be like a cat. Bury the toilet paper. Bury everything.
Yeah,
My God, nobody wants to see that. So you go to some of these
or
like
step in it.
trailheads, and it's just like there's just toilet paper. It looks like teenagers have teepeed the whole trailhead with toilet paper. Like my God, dig a hole. It ain't or flip a rock. If it's frozen, flip a rock.
At least when it's at a trailhead, everybody's saying, "Okay, there's toilet paper there, so this is a community shithole. We'll just do it. We'll
Yeah.
all do it here." So then you kind of know it's there.
I guess.
But anyway, so this hunt, basically the ranger that's been there, he's actually retiring after this year, but he's been there for over 20 years. Or he's the biologist. I'm sorry. And when he started there, the deer were all there. You could go to the mansion. There's this big mansion there. and look out in front of the mansion and see 50 to 100 deer every single night in this. And now it's not like that. There's still, I mean, it's a pretty low population of deer, but there's still a good amount of deer where you can go out and hunt and find them.
Sure.
But they used to have that many deer, really small bodies, and no antler growth, really tiny antlers. And now it's got, they've got some decent antlers out there. I didn't see any big bucks. I did find a decent shed from last year, but there were a couple of nice bucks killed. The largest one weighed 110 pounds, and he was probably 110 inch 8-point.
I've had Labradors way more than that.
Yeah. But
that's funny.
That one was killed by Hunter Prescott. His said his grandpa called him One Shot Prescott. So I'm going to try to get him on the podcast to talk about his hunting and his buddies hunting, because they've been hunting down there for years, and they're local to it, so they go scout all the time. So I'd like to get him on to talk about his hunting down there. Maybe if I do that, he'll give me a couple of honey holes so I can go try there next year. But so we got there, set up camp, and I had about 3 hours to scout on Monday. I've never been to this island before. We took the ferry. We did not take our personal boat, so we couldn't go up to the north end because the ferry only comes in, I think it's called Plum Orchard is where the campsite's at. So it only comes to there. So I had about 3 hours to scout before dark, and I walked a solid 3.5 miles, and I was on the quick step. I was hustling to get back to where I wanted to go on the map. It's all pretty much flat, but I saw some stuff on the map, just some ridges that wound up being old sand dunes that have now grown over. I guess it's old sand dunes. That's what it looks like. And an incredible amount of deer sign, but I had to sit on the ground, and I could only see 15, 20 yards to be able to shoot. So I made that walk twice, and that was it. My feet couldn't take it anymore, hustling back there like that. So Jameis had found a spot that was closer to camp. It's still a solid 1.5 miles. Where I went was probably closer to 2 miles because I walked further up the road before I went into the woods. And he had found some good scrapes. And when he put me in a spot that he had found the first hunting, I didn't see anything, but there was a scrape there. And I got down. I texted him and told him I'm getting down at about 8:30. I'm going to go find some stuff that I like over here. And I walked around until about 11:45 or so, and I found that nice shed. It's over on the table there. I think it's an 8 with a little kicker. Or
Nice.
It would have been it's a 4 on one side with a little kicker.
No, I got you.
And found a bunch of big scrapes and some hog sign, a lot of deer sign, a lot of deer shit underneath these oak trees. And I think it was live oaks. It's live oaks and laurel oaks there. The live oaks are white oak, and laurel oaks are a red oak. I found a bunch of white oak acorns, or live oak acorns, that were dropping, and found a lot of feed sign underneath it. So I climbed up in this. I mean, you can't see it, but you cannot put your arms around this pine tree. And I was in my saddle, so I'm like flipping the strap around to put my sticks on, and I've got maybe 2 inches of strap to try to pull through it. But it's the only tree that's there because everything's kind of, these trees are all tangled, nothing straight, nothing to be able to get a tree stand or a saddle in. But I got up in this pine tree the first day at this spot. I think I sat for 45 minutes, and I told James, if I see a hog, I'm not going to shoot a hog. I'm going to wait for a buck. I was using my muzzleloader, and 45 minutes, 2 hogs came through, and I decided I was going to shoot a hog. So
we're eating pork tonight, boys.
25 yards through a bunch of palmettos, and I saw him cut through the palmettos, and I saw this little gap, probably a grapefruit size gap where I could see a little hole. And I just watched it through my scope, and I saw his snout come through. And when I saw his eye come through, I laid it right behind his eye, and that's where I hit. He dropped right there.
Where do you keep the meat?
So they have a walk-in freezer there. And the great thing about it is now it's tough to get them to the road. You have to get them to a drivable road, not just if it's a trail, they will not drive down it, even if it's wide enough for a vehicle to go down or side by side, anything. They have to be able to get their truck down the road, and it has to be a drivable road, not a trail. So you're a long ways from these trails. You have to pack them out essentially to the road, and then they will come to you. You call them or text them, and they'll come to where you're at and haul it out for you. But you can
Nice.
you gut it in the field or gut it back at camp, and then it sits there and hangs until you're ready to skin it. So that the hog and the doe that I killed both hung in the freezer, or cooler. I think it stayed right at. I think it stays like right at 33 degrees in there. They've got that,
Perfect.
the cool bot that you put on an air conditioner,
Yes.
the window shakers. That's what they
Mm-hmm.
have,
It's
and it
perfect.
keeps it super cold in there. But so yeah, I got the hog next morning. I left all my gear in the tree that night, and the next morning I told Jameis, I said I'm not killing anything but a buck. And 15 minutes after daylight, a big old doe came through. Which
Bang!
I say big old doe. The average doe, the biologist told us the average doe on this place is 60 to 70 pounds. Maybe he said 70, 80 pounds. A large doe is 70, 80 pounds. When this doe came through, I had seen that the other buck hanging in the cooler. I thought this deer was a big buck. And then I got my scope on her head and saw that it was a doe. And I thought, I'm not going to shoot her. I'm going to wait for a buck. I know. And she came. I gone and pissed in this scrape
Mm-hmm.
the night before, and she walked right to it and put her nose in the tree and scraped it. I guess she was scraping it. She was smelling and
Licked
sniffing
her
around. I
licked her
assumed
nose a
maybe
little bit. She was
she
like,
pawed at
"Man,
it a little bit.
it smells like
Yeah,
asparagus
yeah,
and coffee."
yeah. This deer smells weird, but walked right to
This
it, and
guy's
she's
got
probably 50,
cancer.
60 yards. Yeah. But I wasn't going to shoot her, and she kept walking towards me and kept walking towards me, and she was going to get downwind of me. And I said, if she cuts behind me, I'm going to shoot her because she's going to blow at me and ruin my hunt anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
I love deer meat. So she got to 12 yards, got right behind me, yanked her head up, and I pulled the trigger. And she ran about 20 yards through the palmettos
Right
and
as she
fell
was
over.
about to blow.
Yep. Yep. When she yanked her head up, that was it. I pulled the trigger. And Jameis sent me, a message that said, "You bastard," or something like that. But got her out of there. The biologist said she was only a 2.5-year-old deer, but
Wow.
that she was huge for there. They don't get 100. It was a 110-pound deer, 110-pound doe. So she was bigger than the other.
You think she swam
I think there
across?
were 3 other bucks. That's what I. There's a lot of marsh, and I've seen deer go a long ways through a marsh, and it's not that far from the mainland
You see
as a
deer
crow
swim across
flies.
lakes all the damn time.
Yeah, so I think that's what happened, man, because he took her jawbone out and aged her because she was so big. Um and I mean I think she did. I think she swam over the mainland. There's no other does out there that are. I mean, there probably are some, but it's not a normal thing for the does out there to be that big. But anyhow, she ate good. Um, we've we had a nice big neck roast off of her too. Had a Mississippi roast out of
Mm,
it, but
delicious.
I don't care how big a doe is. They're tasty. But man, so on that hunt, I don't want to say. I guess I might as well. I hate to say too much about it because it was such a fun hunt for me. Even though I didn't kill a big buck while I was there, this place is like it's a quota, so only so many people can go there. I think 75 hunters or something like that can go, and you're camping out in the middle of nowhere. Everything's walk in. It's not like regular public land. I so I helped an old man. I think he had to have been in his late 70s. Skin a hog. It was his first hog that he'd ever killed on the island. And he said he's seen plenty. He just never shot any. And he shot this one, and because of how much of a pain in the ass it was to clean, he's never shooting another one. So I skinned it for him and put it in the cooler. But he's been hunting there, I think he said, for 43 years.
Oh, wow.
And then I met people that were hunting there for the first time, like I was. And everybody, I did not talk to one person. Most of them are regulars, like they're there for every single hunt. That's the only place they hunt. It's almost like a lease with not giant deer. But everybody was so helpful with the kinds of things to look for. I'd ask people where they were hunting at so that I don't go there. You know me, I like when I go to the hunting lease down in
Yeah,
Louisville,
you pin in.
I see a stand and I'm like, try to get away from it. You know, I try to be away from these people. So if I see people on a trail, I'm like, where are you at? I just want to know where you're at so I don't go there. And they're all, you know, you go to public land somewhere and people are like, yeah, I'm kind of over this way. These people will tell you exactly where they're at.
I don't even ask people, like, I'll say, just tell me your general area. That way I can stay away from you. Like, I don't want to walk in the same direction you're walking in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But, you know, these people were just open with everything, and it works out. Nobody steps all over your spot. You're not walking on theirs. They're not walking on yours. Nobody's hunts were getting ruined from people blowing through, and just genuine woodsmanship, genuine nice hunters. Not a bad thing to say about it at all. It was more like an old school hunt camp than it was a quota hunt on a WMA.
God, I need to go do that. I miss that so bad.
What's that? The WMA quota hunts?
No, I'm saying I miss that type of old school hunt camp where it's just like you know what I miss about a real old school hunt camp is the fire at the end of the day. I miss getting around the fire and having everybody be around it and just shooting the shit. It doesn't matter if you killed something. It doesn't matter if you did shoot a giant buck or a small doe or whatever. You get around there, you crack a few beers, and you just start cutting up. And it's I miss that camaraderie of a good old school hunt camp. Even when I was on the lease where you're at in Louisville, it wasn't really like that. It was, well, there's that section over there. Yeah, and you could tell how it used to be like that. You've got the old main quarters with the pool table and bathroom and all that stuff. And but it's not. It's changed. Everybody's brought a camper in, and you got this section over there, and then you got this section over here, and you got this section over here. And while they're turkey hunters, they're dog hunters. They don't like to bow hunt. They like to hunt the road or whatever. And it's like, who fucking cares? Like, let's have a communal area, like a big bonfire, and everybody
sticks to themselves now and doesn't talk or do anything anymore.
Oh, you can barely get a wave out of people when I left there. So it's probably because they weren't supposed to be on the property anyway, but.
Probably they probably those. I remember you telling me about that. They probably weren't supposed to be there. But
anyway,
yeah, man, it was definitely old school hunting. I loved it. I'm gonna go back every year. And actually, this coming year, we're thinking about doing the archery hunt and the first muzzleloader hunt. I won't go on 3. I won't go on more than those 2. But we're definitely probably going on those.
I'll go on some of the later hunts with you if I can get a tag. I don't know how that works. I don't know if I'm allowed to tag along with you or what. But if I can, you
have to buy one.
It's fine. Yeah, if I get one, I would love to go with you. I would, for selfish reasons, I would prefer it be later in the season so that we're not getting absolutely demolished by mosquitoes.
It wasn't bad.
Really?
I don't know why it wasn't bad. Yeah, I don't know if it's because of salt but I was sitting. I mean, it was 65 degrees, 70 degrees in the afternoon, and I was sitting on the ground the first day and a half, and it was I mean, I'm in a swamp. the first place I was at, and I mean, you get a couple of them, but I never even turned my thermocell on.
Did you use that?
And when I turned my
that spray?
thermocell on, I had nothing. I had nothing on. And we hadn't had any like crazy frosts or anything like that. So I don't. Maybe there's worse years. Maybe maybe it. Maybe I was
It's
just
kind
in
of a dry
spots where there
summer,
weren't any.
maybe.
But if I'm in a freshwater swamp, there should be mosquitoes there, and I
Mosquitoes.
really
Yeah.
wasn't getting eaten up that bad.
Oh, that's good to know.
But
That's not bad.
you want I would say for you wanting to hunt, you want to go in October or November,
Sounds.
and
I'm ready for
be
it.
unselfish. Just be unselfish.
I'm ready for
I
it.
want to go and because you're allowed to go on the island, you just can't camp at those campgrounds. So you have to ride a bike or walk a long ways to get up to the hunting area, or you can day use, come in and park your boat at the dock. But I want to go in and scout before any of those seasons and put out cameras, because you can put out cameras, and it is a long way for me. It's 4 hours, and probably that distance for you too. But it'd be cool if we could go meet up there, and Jameis is going to go too. Go meet up there, all go, walk through, scout, put cameras out, just see what's there. I mean, you're not using the cameras while you're there, but go check the cameras, say, okay, well, I've got this buck here, I can wait on him. Instead of just, the biologist said, don't, we want you to kill these deer because it's overpopulating the island. Shoot. He said, don't wait. Shoot when you get an opportunity. And
so you were
if
doing
I know
the right
there's
thing
a
by
nice
shooting that
buck
doe.
out there, yeah. But he also said if you feel like waiting, you can wait on a big one, because there are some good deer here. And they showed some pictures of good deer. And like I said, that 8-point that the guy shot, that Hunter shot, is probably 100. I bet he's 110 inches, which is a solid deer out there.
For sure.
But I would wait on a big buck. I would wait on a nice one if I knew that I had one in the area. So I do want to go out there and scout and put cameras out and just see what might be, what might be coming through. And plus that, I know there's decent ones because I found that shed from last year.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm game. You've got me hooked on that one. That would be fun. There's that one. We might as well start wrapping it up a little bit. Explain like kind of what we're planning on doing next season anyway. Apart from turkey.
Okay.
Because that's going to be a whole episode coming up.
That's coming.
I have been doing a little bit of research on this. I know I just brought it up to you this morning. I really, 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 really want to do a float trip for deer and bear. I'm not going to say where, and I'm not going to say what state it's in. I'm not going to say any of that. I want to do a float trip with you for deer and bear. And I think it's doable because the place that I'm looking at is surrounded by national forest. It would be fairly accessible for our significant others, wives, whatever, to drop us off on a tube and just
pick us up at the
go
other
at
end.
it. Just go at it for the next 4 days. Have fun, camp, live off the land.
How's the river there? I mean, is it straight up white water, or what is it?
No, it's like a class 1 or class 2. It's not bad.
Okay,
not bad at all.
That would be fun.
I think that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
Get your ass on the side of a mountain.
I'm still gonna go. I'm still
100
doing
yards in, and that's it.
I want to go. I am gonna say where I'm gonna go hunt South Carolina, or Tennessee next year.
Oh well, if
you want to do that,
if you're talking, if you're talking about, I still want to do that too. I'm not saying no to any of that. I'm just adding this to the list of things that I would like to attempt to accomplish.
It won't cost any more to do it.
Correct.
Because
the South Carolina one, I was thinking about that last night. I think that's fine. I think that the area that you were talking about, we can say it. Can we say it?
Yeah, Lake Russell.
Yeah, I think that that's doable in Georgia, on the Georgia side. There are really highly accessible boat ramps, and we can just go jump on core property and be good to go.
The only reason I want South Carolina is because of the extra, extra bucks.
I know what you mean.
I won't be wasting my buck tag there or for here if I go hunt South Carolina.
I get what you're saying. That's why. So the area that I'm talking about with my float trip, that's why I would be targeting bear personally. That's just me. You can target whatever you want.
I don't know anything about the hunting up there, so I'm gonna have to look at it and study and learn and get into shape because I'm not into shape. I'm round is a shape, so
Round is a
I
shape.
guess
Pear's
I'm
a
in shape. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. I'm actually headed to the gym after this right now. I'm gonna go hit that stair stepper. Pretend I'm on the side of a mountain hauling out a billy goat. But
I'm not going to the gym. My gym is going to be garden season, and actually it's going to start pretty soon. I'm going to start tilling, and I use hand tiller. I'm not using the plow disc or anything like that. I'll hand till everything, and it'll start in the next couple of weeks, and I'll be busting my butt all the way through July and August. And we're not talking your backyard garden. These are
no, your garden
looks
is
like
a little mini
looks
farm.
like I'm market gardening. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and it's getting bigger this year. So what you saw is going to be a garden of corn in itself. And then I'm having another garden that size that's got all my other stuff. So that to come, and maybe pictures on the Instagram and talks about it on the podcast too. But that'll be my workout, and maybe I should go climb some mountains or something like that, just so I'm able to do it if we go do that float trip. But I want to do South Carolina and Tennessee this year,
Tennessee ain't flat
Tennessee
either.
this year. No, but I keep looking at that land between the lakes, and I know in Kentucky it's on land between the lakes too, and they kill some big old deer up there.
There's a lot of
and you can do it on
too.
the Tennessee side too, and it's not that expensive for licenses.
It's pretty too.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there. So
the fishing up there is incredible. We could catfish and hunt and just live. Oh my God, you're just.
Is that on Kentucky Lake?
Yeah, man. Now you're just turning me on.
Is that the lake?
Yeah, sure. It's like the Ohio River,
lots of stuff,
River or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, it's right in that area. And I'm telling you right now, dude, it's like Daniel Boone shit right there. I'm ready to go. God, that'd be fun.
Lots of things to come, and not a lot of money to do it. So we'll have to find a way to make it happen.
Enough money to get us in trouble.
Start an OnlyFans and let people pay me to see pictures of my hairy feet.
Oh my God, could we do that? Could we do like an OnlyFans for hunters' feet before and after the season?
Yeah. That'd be good. I must not be hunting that hard because theirs are way more deteriorated.
All right, you got anything else?
No, I think that's it, man. Guys, go check us out on Instagram, Stay Elevated Instagram. I don't think it's Stay Elevated Podcast, is it? Just
Stay Elevated Outdoors.
There you go. Check us out on there. If you're listening, to us on here, we appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe.
Follow on Spotify. Hey,
share it with
there's
somebody.
An announcement. We're on Spotify now, so that's a huge boost in listenership.
Yep.
If you are on Spotify, you can follow us. If you're on Apple Podcasts, you can subscribe. That just helps us begin to eventually monetize this so that we can keep bringing you the total bullshit that you love to hear and that we love to spout.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
because we don't have friends other than each other and our spouses.
That's actually true.
They feel like being our friends. So
that's actually true.
We like to talk. We have a lot of stuff to talk about because we have nobody to tell it to other than each other. So we're going to tell it to you guys. So please, allow us to keep
the other day. Someone asked me the other day. They're like, "How many close friends do you have?" And I was like, "1." And they're like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, they're like, "Who? What? How do you only have one friend, one close friend?" I'm like, I have one friend that I can count on, and that's it. There's that was a little bit of an exaggeration, but let's be real here.
Yeah, there's other folks
that's been going on for a while.
But yeah, there's other folks, but I know who your wilderness Pookie is.
Exactly. All right. Y'all take care. Thanks for listening.
See ya.